What's up, everyone, and welcome to this week's Cybersecurity Weekly, where we review the security events that happened in the last week. As always, I have broken them down in the timeline so you can jump around. If you find my work valuable, I ask you to hit the like button and, of course, subscribe to my channel.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
We start off with phishing. According to Bleeping Computer, threat actors are targeting IKEA employees in phishing attacks using stolen reply chain emails. Once the mail servers were compromised, threat actors used the access to reply to the company's internal emails in a reply chain attack. Sending the messages from the organizations allows the attackers to bypass detection. Threat actors also exploit the access to internal emails to target business partners. Internal messages from the company warn employees and explain that the fraudulent messages are difficult to distinguish because they have an internal source. The download links contained in the phishing messages have 7 digits at the end. The company support desk told employees to report any suspicious message. The company also shared an example of a phishing email sent to its employees. A good practice consists of contacting the sender over a different channel like Microsoft Teams, chat, or phone in order to inform him of the fraudulent message. The multinational conglomerate also disabled the possibility for its employees to release emails from quarantine to avoid that employees can believe that messages were isolated by error from the email filters. Recently, Trend Micro spotted a malware campaign aimed at Microsoft Exchange servers that exploits proxy shell and proxy logon issues and uses stolen internal reply chain emails to avoid detection. The attacks were orchestrated by Squirrel Waffle, a threat actor known for sending malicious spam as replies to existing email chains. The investigation into 3 incidents revealed that attackers used exploits for CVE-2021-26855, which is proxy logon, CVE-2021-34473, and CVE-2021-34523, which is also proxy shell. Once compromised the Exchange servers, threat actors use the access to reply to the company's internal emails and reply chain attacks containing links to weaponized documents. The emails originate from the same internal network. They appear to be a continuation of some previous discussion between 2 employees. The attacker did not use tools for lateral movement or execute malware on Exchange servers to avoid detection. This was all about spam and with weaponized documents. The emails use the weaponized Office documents or include a link to them. Upon enabling the content, malicious macros are executed to download and install malware such as Qubit, Cobalt Strike, and Squirrel Waffle. The Excel sheets used in this campaign, they were Excel spreadsheets, contain malicious Excel 4.0 macros used to download and execute malicious DLLs. Experts recommend securing your Microsoft Exchange servers by installing security updates published by Microsoft. We move on to patches. VMware this week addressed arbitrary file read and server side request forgery vulnerabilities affecting its vCenter server product. vCenter server is the centralized management utility for VMware and is used to manage virtual machines, multiple ESXi hosts, and all dependent components from a single centralized location. The first vulnerability, tracked to CVE-2021-2195980, is a high-severity arbitrary file read issue that affects the vSphere web client. An attacker with network access to port 443 on vCenter server can exploit the flaw to obtain sensitive information. Another flaw tracked to CVE-2021-22049 is a medium-severity SSRF vulnerability that affects the vSphere web client. Organizations using the vCenter server have to install the patches released by the virtualization giant as soon as possible, so it's imperative that you do this quickly. In early September, VMware informed customers that it had started working on patches for a high-severity arbitrary file upload vulnerability tracked to CVE-2021-22005 affecting vCenter server. At the end of September, a working exploit for that CVE-2021-22005 vulnerability was publicly released, and attackers immediately started attempting to use it in the wild. A vulnerability in Oracle VirtualBox tracked to CVE-2021-2442 could be potentially exploited to compromise the hypervisor and trigger a DOS condition. The vulnerability was discovered by Max von Amerongen from Sentinel Labs. It received a CVSS score of 6.0 and affects versions prior to 6.1.24. The CVE 2021-42321 vulnerability was addressed by Oracle in July with the release of a critical patch update. So, if you haven't already, make sure you have that that update installed. Amarangen also discovered another 2 vulnerabilities tracked as CVE 2021-2145 and CVE 2021-2310, respectively. The CVE 2021-2145 is an integer underflow privilege escalation vulnerability in Oracle VirtualBox NAT, while the CVE 2021-2310 is a heap-based buffer overflow privilege escalation vulnerability in Oracle VirtualBox NAT. The flaws are caused by the lack of proper validation of user input data. Their exploitation can allow an attacker to escalate privilege and execute arbitrary code on the vulnerable Oracle VM VirtualBox. Both issues affect versions before 6.2.1.20 and have been addressed by Oracle in April of 2021. Businesses and organizations are recommended to update their VirtualBox installations to the latest version as soon as possible. We move on to attacks, vulnerabilities, and updates. Recently, GoDaddy has disclosed a data breach that impacted up to 1.2 million of its customers. Threat actors breached the company's managed WordPress hosting environment. Threat actors compromised the company network since at least September 2021, but the security breach was only discovered by the company on November 17th. So you're looking at 2 months with attackers rooting around in the WordPress hosting environment. The intruders used a compromised password to access the provisioning system in the company's legacy code base for managed WordPress. The initial investigation revealed that the attackers exploited a vulnerability to gain access to the following customer information. Up to 1.2 million active and inactive managed WordPress customers had their email address and customer number exposed. The exposure of email addresses presents risk of phishing attacks. The original WordPress admin password that was set at the time of provisioning was exposed. If those credentials were still in use, they were reset. The passwords were reset. For active customers, SFTP and database usernames and passwords were exposed. Both were reset. For a subset of active customers, the SSL private key was exposed. They're in the process of issuing and installing new certificates for those customers. Once identifying the intrusion, the company immediately locked the unauthorized third party out of its system. Now the web hosting giant announced that the security breach impacted several of its brands, including 123reg, Domain Factory, Heart Internet, Host Europe, Media Temple, and TSO Host. The company discovered that threat actors also accessed WordPress admin passwords, SFTP and database credentials, and SSL private keys. Now researchers from WordPress security company WordFence announced to have received confirmation from GoDaddy that multiple brands that resell GoDaddy managed WordPress have been impacted by the security breach. Impacted brands are, again, TSO Host, Media Temple, 123reg, Domain Factory, HeartNet, and Host Europe. Clop ransomware hit marine services provider Swire Pacific Offshore, or SPO, and stole company data but did not affect the global operations. The company announced to have taken immediate actions to reinforce existing security measures and to mitigate the potential impact of the security breach. SPO reported the security breach incident to the relevant authorities. It is also notifying potential affected parties. Clop ransomware published on its dark web leak site samples of the stolen data that includes passports, payroll information, bank account details, email addresses, and more. In the past, other major organizations in the shipping industry were hit by ransomware attacks, including Maersk, COSCO, International Maritime Organization, or IMO, MSC, Pitney Bowes, and CMA CGM. Morphisec researchers spotted a new crypto malware strain tracked as Babadeda, targeting cryptocurrency, non-fungible tokens or NFTs, and DeFi passionates through Discord channels. Threat actors are attempting to exploit the booming market for NFTs and crypto games. Babadeda is able to bypass antivirus solutions. According to the researchers, this crypto malware was recently employed in several campaigns to deliver information stealers, rats, and ransomwares like Lockbit. Most of the attacks observed by the researchers that targeted crypto communities are based on the Discord platform. Threat actors share download links via Discord channels. In one of the attacks analyzed by Morphisec, threat actors sent decoy messages to potential victims via Discord channels related to games such as Mines of Dalarnia. The messages urge the recipients to download an application. The link included in the message redirects users to a phishing domain that contains a download link for the Babadeda installer. One of the decoy sites used in this campaign includes an HTML object written in Russian, a circumstance that suggests that the threat actors may have a Russian origin. The list of rats used for this campaign includes BitRat and Remcos. Resecurity, a Los Angeles-based cybersecurity company, has identified an active zero-day vulnerability in the TP-Link device with model number TL-XVR1800L, Enterprise AX1800 dual-band gigabit Wi-Fi 6 wireless VPN router, which is primarily suited for enterprises. The identified vulnerability enables remote code execution, or ICE, which grants the ability to take over of the device and then use it for malicious purposes, as well as to steal sensitive data too. It's likely this vulnerability is present in other devices from the same family. The affected device is oriented towards the enterprise segment and supports Wi-Fi 6, the next generation wireless standard, which is faster than 802.11ac. Wi-Fi 6 officially arrived in late 2019. The Wi-Fi 6 enabled hardware was released throughout 2020. The main goal of this new standard is enhanced throughput per area in high-density scenarios such as corporate offices, shopping malls, and dense residential apartments. Resecurity notified TP-Link on November 19, 2021, and received acknowledgement the very next day. TP-Link said they're going to release a patch in a week. Currently, the zero-day vulnerability is in the wild. Resecurity shared proof of concept with TP-Link of how remote code execution was achieved on the target device, along with multiple other vulnerabilities. According to Resecurity, the vulnerability was identified by the cause of abnormal traffic monitoring, which consisted of a network of honeypot sensors to enumerate common Internet of Things devices developed by Resecurity are to hunt for malicious or malice on the Internet. Ongoing attacks were discovered by Resecurity's researchers while monitoring the activity of a threat actor known for targeting networks and IoT devices since early October 2021. Notably, the productized version of zero-day exploit was initially spotted by Resecurity's Hunter unit in the wild, known as TP-Linker, the tool available for sale in the Chinese-speaking segment of the dark web. Based on additional context, the actors are attacking insecure IoT devices and are involved in large-scale traffic manipulation, including online banking theft activity. It's not the first time TP-Link has faced critical vulnerabilities in their product lineup. Such bugs are widely leveraged by threat actors building IoT-based botnets like Mirai for further DDoS attacks and other malicious activities. Insecurity of IoT devices remains a challenging cybersecurity issue and creates a vast flaw in the external network perimeter of companies, which allows attackers to penetrate and steal sensitive data too. The APT C-23 cyber espionage group, also known as GNATSP, Frozen Cell, or VAMP, continues to target entities in the Middle East with enhanced Android spyware masqueraded as seemingly harmless apt updates, like Android Update Telegram. The spyware is delivered to specific users via SMS text messages containing download links. Experts from Sophos reported that recently discovered variants of Android spyware implement new features to avoid being removed by the users and to security firms that attempt to dismantle command and control server infrastructure. APT C-23 group is using Android spyware since at least 2017. Most of the targets were in the Palestinian territories. None of the apps analyzed by the researchers have been hosted on an official Google Play Store. Across the years, the APT C-23 threat group has implemented additional spyware capabilities, or spying capabilities. Below is the list of functionalities currently implemented. Collect SMS contacts and call logs, collect images and documents, record audio, incoming and outgoing calls, including WhatsApp calls, taking screenshots and recording video of the screen, taking pictures using the camera, hiding its own icon, reading notifications from WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, Skype, IMO in Messenger, and Signal, canceling notifications from built-in security apps such as Samsung Security Log Agent, Xiaomi MIUI Security Center, Huawei System Manager, as well as from Android System Apps, Package Installer, and its own notifications. Upon opening the app, it requests that the user grant the app permissions to perform surveillance actions such as to access the microphone, to record audio, and all files stored on the device. The malicious apps use social engineering to ask the user to grant advanced permissions. They justify the need for the additional features with fake argumentation. For instance, the request to enable notifications claims that the app needs this functionality or else you won't receive notifications in real time. Once the app has obtained all the permissions, it changes its icon and name to disguise itself using an icon of one of the popular apps such as Google Play, YouTube, Google, or Bottom, a VoIP calling app. Then, the next time the victim will open the spyware, the malware will also launch the real app whose disguise it wears to avoid raising suspicion. The researcher GGGGG has published on Sunday a proof-of-concept exploit code for an actively exploited vulnerability tracked to CVE-2021-42321 in Microsoft Exchange servers. The CVE-2021-42321 is a high-severity remote code execution issue that occurs due to improper validation of command-let arguments. Microsoft pointed out that the flaw can be exploited only by an authenticated attacker. Microsoft addressed the flaw with the release of Microsoft Patch Tuesday security updates for November 2021. The vulnerability impacts on-premises Exchange Server 2016 and Exchange Server 2019. According to the FAQ section included in the November 2021 Exchange Server security updates, users can check if exploit was attempted on their servers before the fix for CVE 2021-42321 was put in place by running a PowerShell query on their Exchange server to check for specific events in the log. Experts are already observing threat actors scanning the web for vulnerable installs and exploit attempts. In recent months, it was observed that a large number of attacks aimed at Microsoft Exchange installs carried out by both nation-state actors and financially motivated actors. For this reason, it's important to install the latest updates immediately. Security researchers from SANSEC have discovered a new Linux remote access trojan tracked as CronRAT that hides in the Linux task scheduling system, or cron, on February 31st. Threat actors hide the malware in the task names, then the malicious code is constructed using several layers of compression and base64 decoding. CronRAT is employed in Magecart attacks against online stores, web stores, and enables attackers to steal credit card data by deploying online payment skimmers on Linux servers. Researchers explain that CronRAT malware is undetected by many antivirus engines. It leverages the fact that many security products do not scan the Linux cron system. In the attacks investigated by SANSEC, CronRAT was used to infect payment skimmers, aka Magecart, in server-side code. E-skimming attacks are moving from the browser to the server because the backend is usually unprotected compared with the browser, SANSEC Director of Threat Research Willem de Groot explained. The CronRAT has a number of tasks to crontab with the date specification 52233123, which would generate a runtime error when executed despite syntactically being valid. However, the researchers pointed out that the runtime error will never happen because the tasks are scheduled to run on a day that doesn't exist. Below is a list of the capabilities implemented by CronRAT: fileless execution, timing modulation, anti-tampering checksums, controlled via binary obfuscated protocol, launches tandem rat in separate Linux subsystem, control server disguised as drop bear SSH service, payload hidden in legitimate cron scheduled task names. Once executed, the malware contacts a command and control server with an IP of 47.115.46.167 using a feature of the Linux kernel that enables TCP communications via a file. The malware contacts the server over TCP via port 44.3 using a fake banner for the drop bear SSH service. SANSEC found instances of CronRAT on multiple online stores, including a nation's largest outlet. The experts had to rewrite part of their ecom scan algorithm in order to detect this innovative threat. Researchers from SafeBridge Labs spotted a new Iranian threat actor that is using an exploit for a Microsoft MSHTML remote code execution flaw in attacks aimed at Farsi-speaking victims. The exploit is used to install a PowerShell stealer, tracked by the researchers as PowerShortShell, that steals Google and Instagram credentials of the victims. The campaign was first spotted in mid-September 2021 by shadow chasing. PowerShortShell stealer is also used for Telegram surveillance and gathering system information from infected systems. The campaign targets Windows users. The attack chain starts with spear phishing emails using malicious WinWord attachments that exploit a Microsoft MSHTML remote code execution flaw tracked as CVE-2021-40444 that you should all recognize right now. Most of the victims are located in the United States. Threat actors use the Corona Massacre lure, a circumstance that confirmed the attackers are targeting Iranians who live abroad. Upon opening the document, a DLL is dropped on the target system, then it is used to execute the PowerShortShell stealer payload. The PowerShortShell collects data and exfiltrates it to a command and control server under the control of the attacker. MSTIC researchers tracked a large cluster of malicious activity involving Cobalt Strike infrastructure under the name Dev0365, which has many similarities with another Cobalt Strike infrastructure that suggests it was managed by a third-party threat actor. Malware authors are already attempting to use the proof-of-concept exploit code targeting a new Microsoft Windows installer 0-day publicly disclosed on Sunday. The security researcher Abdelhamid Nasseri has publicly disclosed an exploit for a new Windows zero-day local privilege elevation vulnerability that can be exploited by threat actors with limited user account to achieve admin privileges on Windows 10, Windows 11, and Windows Server. Now, Cisco Talos experts announced to have already detected malware samples in the wild that are attempting to exploit this vulnerability. At this time, experts are not aware of any malware campaign on a large scale using the proof-of-concept exploit code. Likely, threat actors are working on the code and testing it for future attacks. Experts believe that threat actors will start exploiting the issue very soon. For this reason, it's likely Microsoft could work on an emergency patch to protect its customers. Talos released snort rules, SIDs 58635 and 58636, to protect users from exploitation of this zero-day vulnerability. Researchers from Dr. Web AV discovered 190 games on Huawei's App Gallery catalog, i.e. simulators, platformers, arcade strategies, and shooters that were containing the Android Synos 7 Origin Trojan. They estimated that the malicious apps were installed on at least 9,300,000 Android devices. Experts state that some of these games targeting Russian-speaking users with Russian localization, titles, and descriptions, while others were designed to target Chinese or international audiences. The Android Synos 7 Origin is a modified version of the Synos program module, which can be integrated into Android apps to monetize them. The module is known since at least 2014, but experts pointed out that some versions implement aggressive features such as the capability to send premium SMS, intercept incoming SMS, download and launch extra modules, and download and install other apps. The strain of malware analyzed by the researchers was designed to collect the information about users and their devices displaying ads. Dr. Web AV shared its findings with Huawei and helped the Chinese giant in removing the malicious apps from the App Gallery store. Upon executing the tainted apps, they ask users for permission to make and manage phone calls. The malware can allow threat actors to steal the following data: user mobile phone number, device location based on GPS coordinates on the mobile network and Wi-Fi access point when the application has permission to access locations, various mobile network parameters such as the network code and mobile country code, also GSM cell ID and international GSM location area code when the application has permissions to access location, various technical specs of the device, various parameters from the Trojanized app's metadata. Cisco's Talos researchers discovered a remote code execution vulnerability tracked as CVE-2021-42321 in Cloud Linux's Immunify 360 security product. Immunify 360 is a security platform for web hosting servers that allows to implement real-time protection for website and web servers. The flaw resides in the AI bullet functionality of Cloud Linux incorporated Immunify 360, and an attacker could exploit it to execute arbitrary code using specially crafted files. The vulnerability affects the following versions of the AI bullet product: 30.8.8-1, 30.8.9-1, 30.10.3-1, 31.0.3-1, 31.1.1-1. Cisco released the snort rules 58252 and 58253 to detect exploitation attempts against this vulnerability. Utah Imaging Associates, UIA, discloses a security breach. On September 4th, 2021, the company claimed to have detected and blocked a cyber attack. The healthcare provider promptly secured its infrastructure with the help of a specialized third-party security firm. Utah Imaging Associates also notified the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The healthcare provider also conducted an investigation to determine the scope of the intrusion. Threat actors gained access to some UIA files containing sensitive data of 583,643 individuals. The initial infiltration took place on August 29, 2021. On November 18, 2021, UIA started notifying the impacted individuals via first-class mail, detailing the remediation actions the company is taking in response to the incident. According to the HIPAA journal, compromised files included first and last names, mailing addresses, dates of birth, social security numbers, health insurance policy numbers, and medical information such as treatment, diagnosis, and prescription information. The information exposed in the security breach varied from patient to patient. In October, Sophos researchers have spotted the Memento ransomware that adopts a curious approach to block access to victims' files. The ransomware copies files into password-protected WinRAR archives. It uses a renamed freeware version of the legitimate file utility WinRAR. The Memento ransomware then encrypts the password and deletes the original files from the victim's system. The group initially attempted to encrypt files directly, but it was blocked by defense solutions. Then it changed tactics, using the above process, the WinRAR process, and demanding $1 million to restore the files. The gang also allows the recovery of single files for 0.099 Bitcoin. Like other groups, the Memento team threatens data leakage if the victim did not pay the ransom. The Python ransomware is compiled with the Py installer. Once blocked access to the files, it drops a ransom note that instructs the victims to contact the gang via Telegram. Sophos also noticed that the threat actors also deployed an open-source Python-based keylogger on several machines and made later movements within the network using remote desktop protocol and SSH. The gang was observed exploiting the CVE-2021-42321 vulnerability in VMware vCenter server for the initial access to target networks. vCenter server is the centralized management utility for VMware and is used to manage virtual machines, multiple ESXi hosts, and all development components for a single centralized location. The flaw could be exploited by remote, unauthenticated attackers without user interaction. The issue affects vCenter server plugin for VROPS, which is available in all default installations. VROPS does not need to be present to have this endpoint available. The virtualization giant has provided workarounds to disable it. VMware addressed the flaw in February, but thousands of installs remain unpatched, and groups like the Memento team focus their operations on this exploitation. JFrog researchers have discovered 11 malicious Python packages in the Python package index, or PyPi, repository that can steal Discord access tokens, passwords, and even carry out dependency confusion attacks. The list of malicious Python packages includes important package, important-package, pptest, IP boards, owlmoon, Discord safety, trrfab, 10cent10/10cent11, yandex-yt, and yifparty. The packages important package, 10cent10 and 10cent11 were able to establish a reverse shell on the compromised machine. Experts pointed out that the important package abused CDN TLS termination for data exploitation. It uses the Fastly CDN to disguise communications with the command and control server as a communication with PyPi.org. The IP boards and trrfab packages were able to exfiltrate sensitive information by using a technique called dependency confusion. We move on to other security news. The FBI warns of cybercriminals in targeting online shoppers during the holiday season. In this period, netizens hope to take advantage of online bargains and are more active online. For this reason, they are more exposed to the risk of scams. The Feds estimated that online shoppers could lose more than $53 million during this year's holiday season to scams offering bargains and gifts that are hard to find due to merchandise shortages. Cybercriminals will attempt to entice their victims in multiple ways, including emails advertising hot ticket or products that are hard to find on the market, such as event tickets or gaming systems, untrusted websites and ads promoting unrealistic discounts and bargains, posts on social media apparently shared by a known friend offering vouchers, gift cards, freebies, and contests, advertisements on social media platforms that promote non-existent or counterfeit items, online surveys designed to steal personal information. Unsuspecting online shoppers could also fall victim to identity theft by phishing attacks aimed at stealing their payment card data. FBI also warns criminals will use legitimate website photos to promise non-existent pets to multiple buyers. Feds recommend purchasing a pet online only after they've met the animal and owner via video chat. Verify websites prior to making a purchase. Only purchase items from official encryption using websites. Web addresses should begin with https:// and include a locked padlock icon. Be wary of online retailers who use a free email service instead of a company email address. Do not judge a company by their website. Flashy websites can be set up and taken down quickly. Pay for items using a credit card dedicated for online purchases, checking the card statement frequently, and never saving payment information in online accounts. Be wary of sellers who accept only wire transfers, virtual currency, gift cards, or cash, as these are almost impossible to recover. Never make purchases using public Wi-Fi. Verify legitimacy of a seller before your purchase. Take steps such as looking at consumer reviews and checking with the Better Business Bureau. Beware of sellers posting under one name but requesting funds to be sent to another individual, or any seller claiming to be inside the country but requesting funds to be sent to another country. Only purchase gift cards directly from a trusted merchant. Do not click on links or provide personal or financial information to an unsolicited email. Make sure antivirus malware software is up to date and block pop-up windows. Use safe passwords or passphrases. Never use the same password on multiple accounts. And as always, if the deal sounds too good to be true, chances are it's a scam. Italy's antitrust regulator Autorité Garante della Concorrenza e del Mercato AGCM has fined Apple and Google €10 million for each for their aggressive data practices and the lack of transparency on the use of customers' personal data. Both companies were fined due to violations of the Consumer Code for aggressive practices related to the acquisition and use of consumer data for commercial purposes. Italy's antitrust regulator has fined both Google and Apple €10 million each for what it calls an aggressive data practice that and not providing consumers with clear information on commercial uses of their personal data during the account creation phase. €10 million is the maximum fine permitted according to current legislation. The Italian authority pointed out that in the account creation phase, Google presets the user's acceptance of the transfer and or use of their data for commercial purposes. In the case of Apple, the IT giant was accused of acquiring consent to the use of user data for commercial purposes without providing the consumer with the possibility of a prior and express consent on sharing their data. Interpol has coordinated an international operation codenamed Operation HAEICHI-II or HAEICHI-II that led to the arrest of 1,003 individuals linked to various cybercrimes such as romance scams, investment frauds, online money laundering, and illegal online gambling. The Interpol published more than 20 notices were published based on information related to Operation HAEICHI-II and identified 10 new fraudulent schemes. The law enforcement operation involved police from 20 countries: Angola, Brunei, Cambodia, Colombia, China, India, Indonesia, Ireland, Japan, Korea, a representative of Laos, Malaysia, Maldives, Philippines, Romania, Singapore, Slovenia, Spain, Thailand, and Vietnam in alphabetical order between June and September 2021. The Interpol also involved the use of a new global stop payment mechanism, the Anti-Money Laundering Rapid Response Protocol, or ARP, which was designed to intercept illicit funds. The authorities blocked 2,350 bank accounts linked to the illicit proceeds of online financial crime and intercepted over €27 million. The announcement cited a case in Colombia when a prominent textiles company was defrauded of more than $8 million through a sophisticated business email compromise or BEC scam. The threat actors impersonated the legal representative of the company and ordered to transfer more than $16 million to 2 Chinese bank accounts. The company discovered the fraudulent activity after half of the money was transferred, then alerted authorities. Thanks to the use of the ARP network and the international police cooperation, over 94% of the money was intercepted in record time. Interpol also warned of the use of the Squid Game as bait in malware campaigns. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the FBI warned critical infrastructure partners of ransomware attacks during the holiday season. During this period, offices are often closed and employees are at home. For this reason, their organizations are more exposed to ransomware attacks. Both agencies haven't identified any specific threats, but recent trends led them into believing that threat actors could launch impactful ransomware attacks during the holidays and weekends, including Independence Day and Mother's Day weekends. The list of actions recommended to thwart these attacks include: identify IT security employees for weekends and holidays who would be able to surge during these times in the event of an incident or ransomware attack. Implement multi-factor authentication for remote access and administrative accounts. Mandate strong passwords and ensure they are not reused across multiple accounts. If you use remote desktop protocol or any other potentially risky service, ensure it is secure and monitored. Remind employees not to click on suspicious links and conduct exercises to raise awareness. Government experts also warn of other malicious activities such as phishing scams, fraudulent site spoofing reputable businesses, and unencrypted financial transactions. The Securities and Exchange Commission is warning investors of scammers impersonating SEC officials in fraudulent schemes. According to the alert issued by the SEC's Office of Investor Education and Advocacy, or OIEA, crooks are contacting investors via phone calls, voicemails, emails, and letters. The alert recommends investors not provide any personal information in case they receive a communication that appears to be from the Securities and Exchange Commission. They are invited to directly contact the Commission. Investors can check the identity of someone behind calls or messages using the SEC's personal locator at 202-551-6000 or call 800-SEC-0330 or email help@sec.gov. Investors can also file a complaint with the Securities and Exchange Commission's Office for Inspector General at www.sec.gov/OIG or call the OIG's toll-free hotline at 833-SEC-OIG-1 or 732-6441. With that, I say thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.